If someone had told me what it actually takes to be successful, I might have never started, because it's not pretty, it's not motivational, and it's definitely not what you see in someone's highlight reels. After nearly a year of posting on YouTube, uploading over 100 videos, and completing a 30-day budgeting challenge with daily uploads, here's what I've learned. Success doesn't come from doing everything perfectly. It comes from doing one uncomfortable thing consistently. Imagine steering a ship just 1 degree off course. Seems tiny, right? But over time, that 1 degree takes you somewhere completely different from when you were headed. That's what happens when you keep showing up, when you keep adjusting one small course correction at a time on your journey toward success. Little by little, it changes everything. Today, I'm taking you behind the scenes of my journey, the wins, the mistakes, the moments I almost gave up, and I'm sharing the truth about what it really takes to be successful. 7 success factors that can turn your setbacks into success. Starting with the first one, which is to master the grind, not the shortcut. There's this dangerous myth floating around that if you just hustle hard for a short burst, everything will magically click. Look, we've all heard about the hustle and grind culture, and I think a lot of us are just fed up with that mentality. But here's the truth. There has to be some hard work, some grind, before you start to see the success. And the shortcuts, they're just not going to cut it. Real success, it's slow, it's gritty, and it demands patience. I don't know about you, but I'm always seeing videos from creators who say they monetize their channel in 30, 60, 90 days. So when I kicked off this 30-day budgeting challenge, I had about 70 subscribers, and I thought, this is it. In 30 days, I'm going to hit 1,000 subscribers. Why? Because that's what I saw other creators say they did. And hey, I'd already been working at this channel for a year, but you want to know what actually happened? Day 1, 0 new subscribers. Week 1, just a few trickled in. And that's when I learned something extremely valuable. You see, what those other creators don't tell you, what doesn't show up in the titles, the thumbnails, or even the videos, is the real story behind those fast results. And stick with me here, because I want to tell you exactly what they're not saying in just a minute. But first, let's talk about the grind. Let's talk about what it actually looked like when I realized I wasn't going to hit that subscriber goal in a month. I wasn't getting 1,000 subscribers in 30 days. At first, I blamed myself. I thought, what's wrong with me? I felt like giving up. It felt like too much, like maybe I wasn't cut out for this. But here's the truth. Success almost never comes fast. Yeah, I'd been putting in the hours. I'd been working at this for a year, but I realize now I still have a lot left to learn about what it actually takes to run a successful channel with 1,000 subscribers. It's not just about creating content and uploading it. It's about building the systems, developing the skills, learning how to keep the momentum going. And that's the part of the grind that takes time. It might take longer for some of us than it does for others, and that's okay. So the next time you catch yourself wanting a shortcut, just remember you have to get through the grind phase before you can reach the success phase. Everyone hits this wall. And when you keep going anyway, when you keep correcting your course, even by 1 degree at a time, one day you'll look back and you realize that everything has shifted. And that's when you become someone who's ready to handle success when it finally arrives. Okay, success factor number 2 is to break through the resistance. If you want to succeed at anything, business, finances, health, creativity, you're going to come face to face with resistance. And if you don't learn how to break through it, you'll stay stuck at the starting line. Resistance doesn't always look like fear or procrastination. Sometimes it's disguised as just everyday life. The excuses, the tiny roadblocks, the small justifications that seem harmless in the moment, but they keep you from showing up. Breaking through resistance isn't about fighting with yourself. It's about clearing the path so you can move forward with less friction. Before this challenge, it was tough for me to just press record. I had all these barriers stacked up. I was tired. I didn't sleep well. I had to wash my hair. I didn't feel like putting on my makeup. And here's the truth. Whatever path we choose, unless it's completely out of alignment with our values, we have to fully commit to it. And that means removing the barriers. For me, it just started with my routines. I adjusted my work routine so that by the time I was done with work every day, I had a script ready to film and a whiteboard that was finished and photographed. And then I adjusted my evening and morning routines, changing when I took a shower and making sure that I was completely ready to film. Hair, makeup, and what I was going to wear to film in that day, all done before I opened my office door. And then as soon as I walked into my office, I popped both my phones into the tripod, turned on the lights, hooked up the mic, and pressed record before my brain could say, I want to film today. Did I do it sleepy sometimes? Yeah, I did. Did I have to repeat some lines over and over again on some days? Absolutely. It wasn't perfect, but I turned that resistance into a manageable habit. For someone else, resistance might look totally different. Maybe it's the mom who has to carve out time to work on her dreams while the kids are asleep, or the person working 2 jobs trying to build something on the side. The blocks might look different, but the process of clearing them is just the same. Instead of seeing resistance as a sign to stop, see it as a signal. This matters. And when something matters, your job isn't to make it effortless, it's to make it possible. So the next time you bump up against resistance, whether it's hitting record, building your side hustle, or doing extra work to increase your income, take a moment to identify the blocks that you can clear to make it easier for yourself the next time. And success factor number 3, I just hinted at this when I was talking about resistance, is to be fully committed to the thing you want to be successful at. It's easy to be committed when things are going smoothly. The real test comes when the path gets bumpy, when progress slows, when you start questioning if you picked the wrong goal or the wrong strategy. And that's the moment when most people quietly back away. Not because they can't do it, but because they never truly committed to it in the first place. I think the real challenge for me wasn't just filming or editing or hitting deadlines. The real challenge was being fully committed to this part of my financial freedom journey. I chose this path, and I chose to build this channel. And then when it got hard, when it stopped being exciting or fun, well, then I started pulling back, and I didn't feel like doing it anymore. And honestly, that's how so many of us treat our journey to real financial freedom, or really any big goal. We decide we want it, we declare it to the world, or maybe we just say it quietly to ourselves. But the moment the road gets rocky, we start wondering, did I take the wrong path? Should I switch lanes? Maybe there's an easier way. And commitment doesn't mean you never doubt yourself. It means you keep moving forward even when the doubt shows up. It's not about clinging desperately to something that you no longer fit into. It's about staying the course long enough to give yourself a real shot at success, even when the process is messy and imperfect. When you're tempted to quit or change your strategy too soon, you really need to take a hard look at what you're committed to. Are you committed to the path you started out on? Or are you just committed to the results that you wanted from that strategy? Here's the reality. Success, the results you want, they're not going to show up if you keep abandoning whatever it is that you've started halfway through. That struggle isn't unique to any one person. At some point, every creator, every entrepreneur, every person chasing financial freedom reaches that moment when they wonder if they should just turn back. But the magic happens when you keep going, when you stay committed through the doubt and discomfort, when you build something way more valuable than just the goal you're chasing. It happens when you become the kind of person who can weather storms, and that is the foundation for lasting success. Success factor number 4 is something I say in my videos all the time, and I'm a hypocrite because I wasn't following my own advice, and that is progress, not perfection. Perfectionism is one of the sneakiest roadblocks to success. It feels like you're trying to get it right, but really, it's often a form of self-sabotage, a way to avoid the discomfort or putting imperfect work out into the world. And the truth is, progress is what builds momentum, and perfection is what keeps you stuck. When I started this challenge, my plan was to have all my videos batched and ready to go so I could sail through the 30 days with minimal stress and effort. Yeah, that didn't happen. There were so many days when I was filming every single day. There were mornings that I was editing at 4:30 a.m. As in, I didn't go to bed. I was still up at 4:30 in the morning just so I could reach my self-imposed deadline of 9 a.m. Before I started the 30-day challenge, I was doing just 3 videos a week. and it was taking me forever. Sometimes it took me 45 minutes or more just to record a 10 to 15 minute video. And editing, let me tell you, that could take 4, 6, maybe even 8 hours. The process that I was following before, it just had to go out the window. I loosened up my definition of a good video and gradually cut back the amount of time it took to film and edit a video until eventually I could film a video in 10 to 15 minutes and edit it in about an hour and 45. But filming and editing weren't the only obstacles. There were the whiteboards. I remember the first time I caught a misspelled word while I was editing the video, and I was crushed. I almost went back and re-recorded the entire video. In my head, it was a disaster. I can't put this out, it's ruined. But the clock was ticking, and staying up all night to fix it just wasn't an option anymore. So I edited the video, I put it out, and you know what? The world didn't end. My subscribers didn't go down to 0. My views didn't tank. Perfection is the enemy of progress. You can't grow if you're too afraid to ship the imperfect version. Your goal isn't to avoid mistakes, it's to keep moving forward. Learn as you go and trust that you'll improve over time. You just have to remind yourself done is better than perfect and move on, because imperfect action moves you forward. Overthinking, that's what keeps you stuck. Everyone wrestles with perfectionism in some form, but what matters is how you deal with it. Don't let that discomfort hold you back. Imperfect momentum compounds over time into something extraordinary. Success factor number 5 is one that nobody really warns you about, and that's learning how to handle the haters and the critics. Here's the truth. The moment you start stepping into success, the moment you start showing up, growing, and building something meaningful, someone's going to have a problem with it. There will be haters, there will be critics, there will be people who accuse you of forgetting your roots, getting too big for your britches, or thinking you need to be knocked down a peg or two. And it might not just come from strangers online. It might come from friends, family, coworkers, even the people that you thought would be cheering you on. Because I chose progress over perfection, I had a few people call me out on the mistakes I made. Here's the first comment I got. I'm not going to take advice from someone who can't even spell the word build. You know, part of me wanted to fire back and say, well, I'm not sure I should take criticism from someone who doesn't know how to capitalize or punctuate a sentence, but I let it go. Then there was another person with a much kinder comment who simply pointed out the correct spelling, assuming that I didn't know how to spell the word, alongside a supportive comment. And then there was this one, and I debated about this one a lot. I didn't know if I should share it here because honestly, it stung, but I think it's important. And it said, never take advice, especially financial advice, from a girl, especially a girl who can't spell. Let me be clear, this isn't just a spelling critique. This is misogyny, and I feel bad. Not for me, but for the women in that man's life. His sisters, his daughters, his mother, wife, any woman that's part of his life, because they're living around someone who sees women as less than. And here's the lesson. Sometimes the haters you get have nothing to do with you and everything to do with the other person's issues. Criticism is part of success, but it's not all equal. Some feedback helps you grow. Some reflect other people's insecurities and their own inadequacies. Your job is to learn the difference, take what's useful, and let the rest fall away. If you're chasing something big and people start throwing shade your way, remember this. You don't have to dim your light, shrink your goals, or make yourself smaller just to make them feel comfortable. Every person who's ever done something meaningful has faced haters. It's part of the price of stepping into the spotlight. Even if that spotlight is just small at first. Maybe you're not pressing record on a camera, but instead you're speaking up in a meeting, launching a small business, setting boundaries in your relationships, or just simply daring to go after something you want. What's important for you is to take back your power. Let go of the people who are your haters and your critics. Surround yourself instead with people who want to see you win. Build friendships and communities with people who believe in you, who challenge you with the intention of helping you grow, and who remind you of your worth. Because at the end of the day, you don't rise by pleasing the critics. You rise by staying aligned with your purpose. Success factor number 6 is one of the simplest, but it's one of the most transformative, and that's to do one uncomfortable thing consistently. We often think success is big, dramatic action, massive change, huge leaps, overnight turnarounds. But real change just comes from small, uncomfortable actions repeated over and over and over again. It's the daily stretch, not the occasional sprint, that creates lasting results. Success doesn't come from doing everything perfectly. It comes from doing one uncomfortable thing consistently. For me, that one thing was just showing up, even when I wanted to hide, even when the numbers didn't align with my goals, even when the haters showed up in the comments. That's the shift that made all the difference. It wasn't always fun and it wasn't always smooth, but every time I pressed record, every time I uploaded the video, every time I kept the promise I made to myself, I was building something. And over time, those small repeated actions turned into momentum. Moving forward doesn't require you to be fearless. You just have to be willing to lean into discomfort one small step at a time. Find one uncomfortable thing you can commit to consistently and stick to it until you finally stop questioning yourself, until you stop feeling uncomfortable, until it's just part of your journey towards success. It's not the size of the action that matters. It's the fact that you keep showing up. And success factor number 7 is the one thing most creators don't tell you, and that's to leverage your unfair advantage. When we look at the people who seemed to have achieved success overnight or talk about how quick their journey to success was, it's easy to assume they started from scratch and climbed their way to the top by pure willpower, hard work, and determination. But most people who rise quickly aren't starting from zero. They're starting from experience, resources, skills, or networks that they've built up over time. And we all have some kind of unfair advantage. The key is to recognize it and use it instead of pretending we're a blank slate. I used to watch creators who talk about how they monetize their channel 30, 60, 90 days, and I thought, okay, I can do that too. But if you dig a little deeper, listen a little closer, you start noticing something they rarely put in the title or the thumbnail, and it's often the fact that this isn't their first channel. A lot of these creators had already monetized one channel, and then they challenged themselves to see how fast they could monetize the next. By the time they started over, they had systems in place. They knew how to craft good hooks, tell compelling stories, design eye-catching thumbnails, and sometimes they even had a team helping them behind the scenes. They weren't brand new creators figuring it out from scratch. They were experienced creators duplicating success. And here's what I realized. I had an unfair advantage too. When I started my YouTube channel, I brought 20 years of marketing agency experience with me. I knew how to start a channel. I knew how to edit videos. I knew how to design backgrounds to create different and pretty decent thumbnails. What I didn't have was much experience filming myself, writing stories, or doing all the things that make a YouTube channel thrive. But compared to someone starting with zero background, I had an edge, and it was up to me to use it. You've gathered skills, life experiences, relationships, and knowledge along the way. Everyone starts with a mix of strengths and gaps, and most people are quietly working from both behind the scenes. You don't have to have everything figured out. You just need to start with what you do have. When you combine your unique advantage with consistent action, you create your own edge. When you own what you bring to the table, you step into a level of momentum and confidence that no one can take from you. Every single one of these success factors can be adapted to fit into your own life and your journey towards success and financial freedom. You're in charge of your own journey and the path you take. And if you need a place to start your financial freedom journey, check out this video next.